I'm John Marcum from here in Hodgenville. The building that we're in right now was a clothing store owned by my dad, Middleton and Marcum. We were in business 50 years here. My brother and he were in it the whole time. I was not in it after I got out of high school much, except when they couldn't do any better. They would call me in to help out, and they kept me in the basement. I've lived here most of my life. Hodgenville has changed, I think, for the good. I'm proud of our square and all the updating that has been done, and glad that this building is still being used instead of falling into disrepair and not being used. I've spent a lot of time hearing about Lincoln, knowing about Lincoln. I need to know more than I do. Sometimes we take things for granted when it's right at our back door, and so I guess I was one of those people. But I'm pleased with this museum, and it was all done by local people, and it continues to be run by local people. I come in and volunteer occasionally, and I'm glad to do that, and really pleased with the number of people that have passed through the building that have been in town here. They opened the store, my dad and my grandfather, in September of 1937. Men's clothing was on this side of the store. Women's clothing, materials, hosiery, shoes were in the back of the building, along men's trousers, I think, and also men's suits were toward the back here. Then up on the second floor was ladies' ready to wear, and bookkeeping was done up there. And then several years after we had been here, the basement was dug out completely, and that was used for a stock room, Christmas gift wrapping, or any kind of gift wrapping. And those desks out there in the opening, that was where they would measure the material, bolts of material for people coming in and buy. People here had a lot of good seamsters in town, and they did a lot of their own sewing and patterns and what have you. And we did not keep patterns in stock, but we could order them and they would be here in 2 or 3 days. But there was a lot of interest in fabrics, and in the fall of the year, one thing that was amusing, when the woolen materials came in, they were stored in big wooden crates. People would come in and say, "Oh, it smells like mothballs in here." And so many people still tell me that that's one thing they remember about the store, or if they came in the back door, you would smell the leather that were on the shoes, and that was something people would comment on. Yeah, so that's kind of the summary. And we did carry gifts. My brother did most of that, and I know my dad, he thought that was the craziest thing my brother ever decided to do, and they didn't always agree on that. And one night after I was home visiting, and my brother had come up to the house to eat supper, and Daddy he'd been to Louisville, I guess, to do some buying, and these dishes and stuff came in, these gifts. And so my dad told Steve, said, "By the way, you've got a lot of giftware that came in." And Steve said, "Okay." And he said, "I am so glad that we started carrying that." And Steve said, "We," because he was not too excited to have giftware in China that was going to break. But after it made the cash register ring, he was pretty happy about it, I think. So. Christmas was a big holiday. Gosh, in those days, Christmas buying began in Thanksgiving week. The store was decorated during that week. And then we were open later in the day, and then as we got nearer Christmas week, we're open sometimes till around 7 each evening. Gift wrapping again was done in the basement. We used a lot of girls from high school that came in and did the gift wrapping. That was something else that was not my gift either. Well, I won't tell how much tape I used, but it always got rewrapped if I was the one wrapping it. So, but most people were wonderful to have in the store. They were friendly, and they were very complimentary. And so we do thank the people of Hodgenville for those 50 years that we were here. So nothing could have replaced our store, in my opinion, as wonderfully as this museum has. It's been wonderful for the town. I've learned a lot myself You know, when you're in a town where someone like Lincoln was born, you take it for granted and don't do a lot of studying about it. And the Lincoln Park was at his birthplace. That was always an interesting place. The year that I graduated from high school, the gym here had burned, and so our graduation was held at Lincoln Farm on the steps. And that's always been a good memory. That was, well, a few years ago, 1959. So Abraham Lincoln, of course, as a kid, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I knew who he was, and his claim to fame, of course, was ridding the country of slavery. But from the humble beginnings from which he began, you'd have to admire him, and I always have. I was not always excited about reading history, but I did try to keep up with Lincoln some, and always as a kid enjoyed the park. And that was just, when we would go out there, you would feel like you'd never been there before and run like Indians all over the place, so yeah. So I'm proud that this place here is still honoring Lincoln through history and all the wonderful artifacts that they have here in the building. Well, in closing, thank you for having me. I enjoyed meeting all of you, and I feel privileged to have got to be here and tell you a little bit about this building.